Hello, everybody, and welcome to Austin.
Yeah.
I am supposed to be in Austin. However, I am not in Austin because I will be in Austin in 2 weeks. The reason being that I was actually on my way to the airport, literally, and I was talking to David, and where I had my tooth pulled, something shifted, and I think I need a week or two more recovery before I'm. Especially David had pointed out, like, man, you sure you want to be on a plane? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I really, I hadn't felt anything, and it's not as bad as it was. It's just a little scary. And yeah, right, I've just flown around the world, but okay. Listen, man, if you can fly over oceans, you're not scared to fly. um but yeah, thank you guys for joining us. This is going to be very short and brief. I just saw a couple of things getting posted since last week when David and I were supposed to do something with Sheila, Dashing with Cypress. Sheila still showed up. She was a trooper. She did the live with me. And actually, we went through the email that I had got from Para regarding ParaWorks. So we're not going to get into any of the future stuff. And this, like I said, this is going to be like a 10-minute episode. So any kind of like super important questions, you can put them down. Otherwise, we will address things next week. We just want to have a video to point to so that if people are making comments, we can say, hey, go look at this video. This is the correct information, because before disinformation spreads, because we all know how it goes and it goes quickly. So that said, David, I mean, without getting into any details that we don't need to, but being transparent and what's up with ParaWorks, because I know we're working on other things too, and that will be coming in future weeks. But I just wanted to address this one thing today.
Yeah, I think on our end, we unfortunately, the way it was set up with a number of partners wasn't working, right? And I guess what I mean by that was, we made the decision for partners using ParaWorks to help them pay the drivers on the system, right? And I think that the decision there was made so that drivers would get paid faster. We noticed a lot of the people we were working with would pay at the end of the week, perhaps pay a week or two later. So on our end, it was just a way for us to be able to provide a better experience. Unfortunately, a couple of partners sort of took advantage of that. And what I mean by that is, we paid the driver on their behalf, and then they just stiffed us with the bill.
Exactly.
And, it just, frankly, to be very upfront, for ParaWorks, how we were paying for it is a small fee that we take for helping arranged it, right? So we make something between $1.50 to $2 per trip that was arranged. And these partners were stiffing us to the tens of thousands of dollars, right? So like when when a partner stiffs you
Well,
for
let's be clear to say not all partners.
No. The
Some of
problem
it,
is,
okay, yeah.
The problem is, if you make $1.50 per trip and then somebody stiffs you for $50,000,
Yeah,
they
it
ruin it
doesn't
for
balance out.
they ruin it for everybody else, basically, right? So it's
Yeah.
the idea that, hey, if somebody gets paid $40 for a trip, but we make $1.50, but somebody screws you for the 40, it just doesn't work. So I think from our end, we had to shut it down because it just wasn't making financial sense for us. I do think that there's, we are working on some initiatives to build a better system, right? So really on our end, it's like, hey, let's shut it down. Let's take a step back. I know you'd mentioned to me, Steve, a bunch of this idea that things are being passed to multiple platforms, a bunch of different things were happening. So I think on our end, with this context, the decision was, let's take a step back and re-architect how this is set up.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's I mean, like, I see Josh's comment, why not get rid of the bad ones? Because here's the thing that I'll say, and I mean, obviously we all have our problems with DoorDash, but like DoorDash does this and Uber Eats does this to customers all the time. I read articles all the time about a restaurant that's owed 4 months of income from Uber Eats. In fact, just the other day I did, and the person had even like lawyered up with some cheap lawyer, and they had to go and get and this was in the Seattle market, they had to go and get another lawyer, or they had to have a news personality, like a news reporter, come and do the story. That made it get settled very quickly. But until then, it was like months of saying, when are we going to get paid?
Yeah. And on our end, we did try to do it, right? So I think on our end, the way it worked also is, we'd go invoice the partner at the end of the month. They have 30 days to go pay for it. So it's one of those where it's actually months of not being paid by multiple partners, which just over time added up,
Yeah.
right? So I think Norton Man, I like one, thanks for the question there.
Yes.
And I think sort of two, they've been trying to poach drivers. Actually, poaching drivers, I very much appreciate when people have been loyal to ParaWorks and have gone to continue to get work from us. But actually, poaching drivers, it's not great, but it wasn't really that big of a problem.
Well,
we were fine with as an independent contractor if you wanted to go work for them and continue to get that work. We thought that was pretty great. But at the end of the day, I think the, essentially stealing money from us was the problem, right?
Yeah, but as a person who's done many ParaWorks, David, I can tell you, and I have told you, it does get very confusing. I don't like you said, we're independent contractors, and that's awesome that was okay. But at the same time, it's very confusing because you have maybe 3 hands in the cookie jar sometimes texting you, and you've now finished the ParaWorks, and you got King Courier Services, or you got somebody from Cartwheel, or there's people all over texting you, and you've now finished the job.
Yep.
And you're like, what, dude? I'm done.
Yep.
And they're like, well, just come to us instead. And
so
I've even had ones that said, hey, if you just drop it through the Para app, you can get it on this.
Yep.
Like, what do you do? That's bad business.
Yep.
And I won't name names because my guess is that's one of the people that didn't pay up.
And I think part of it too is like, some of the partners we worked with did a good job of managing it. Some of the partners did stuff like that. And really on our end, I think it was this decision that, hey, one, we were having money stolen from us. Two, just the way it's set up, it's hard to fix something like that while everything's live and everything is happening as it's ongoing. I think on our end, it's like, okay, let's use this as an opportunity to shut it down and let's reimagine how it should be.
Yeah.
So,
and thank you, Norton Man, for saying that, because that is why I like, even today, like I know David had a very busy day yesterday, but I was telling David, hey man, like always, let's get out in front and just say this so that we can point people to this video.
Yep. I think with that in mind, Peyton says, is there an issue with Uber integration? So there was an issue with Uber integration, right? So there was an issue with Uber integration the last couple of days. Uber rolled out a bunch of changes. It was initially in just a couple cities, and then they ended up rolling out changes to pretty much almost every city. I am happy to say, though, that I do believe that is fixed right now. I think we're sort of rolling that out, but I believe it is fixed.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, with that said, I will be, what is it? I'm in 12 days. I will be out in Austin with David for the week. We'll be throwing sticking everything to the wall that we can. So kind of looking forward to that. I was hoping for it this week, but I guess it's not too bad that it's 2 weeks off, and I don't leave till the day after taxes. So I'm happy about that.
Pedro, but I think thank you for that. And it's good to hear from you, man. It's been a second. Hope you're well.
I mean, and I know that a lot of people are going to be bumming over this.
Yeah, there was
a lot of people right now too starting to get into it and seeing, like I was hearing from Josh and stuff. Oh, I'm seeing more ParaWorks than I ever have.
Yep. And I think what to me is important though is like at the end of the day, the goal was to find good work for people, right? Good paying gigs for people to supplement it. So I think what we did is like for any of the ParaWorks partners who were in good standing, basically who we thought highly of, we basically said like, hey, you can feel free to reach out to people who've done the work with you in the past and continue to give people work if you'd like, basically. But people have to opt in to that. So on our end, it's like, hey, if you like doing work with one of the local providers, reach out to them, see if you can continue doing work, in the meantime.
Yeah. And I mean, and again, I think that, next week we'll talk about something. I've got some ideas, and then the week after I'll be with David, and hopefully we'll throw out I know of some things that I'm very interested in that we're doing that I won't even mention today because it's like a whole different can of worms. It would expose a whole topic that we would need to sit here for a while and dissect. But it's kind of a different direction, maybe. Is that a good way to put it? There's some different directions that you guys are not expecting that things are going.
I think that's the one thing you always know, Steve, is we're always finding new things to always mission aligned to the same goal, but always trying to find new ways to keep pushing things ahead. So there's a whole world we can talk about, but we should talk about that in person. So
absolutely. So I think that's all we had, you guys, and I appreciate everybody here for joining. We're gonna try and cut this now, because if we keep it to 10 minutes, we're put on all the platforms so that we make sure that everybody gets to hear it. So thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you, David, and we'll be back here next week for ParaLive. Have a good one. Be safe.